and welcome to 3Q, where I interview industry professionals for just 15 minutes by asking three powerful questions. I'm your host, Rachel Vogel, and joining me on tonight's episode is Joe Aboud, the founder and CEO of 444 Sounds. Joe sits at the intersection of artist development, marketing, and commerce. His music consultancy firm, 444 Sounds, oversees strategy and promotion for clients including record labels, distributors, and artist managers, as well as both signed and independent artists. He works with his clients to provide additional customized services for results-driven artist growth and delivers marketing solutions for artists and records with an emphasis on fan community building. So,
Oh,
Joe, thank you so much for being here. How's it going?
thank you for having me. It's going great on this fine Monday morning. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Can't complain over here. Are you ready to dive into the first question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Imagine for a second you're sitting down with your 25-year-old self. What one piece of advice would you give him on a personal note? And what one piece of advice would you give him from a business perspective?
That's a great question. I think on the personal side, I would probably advise my 25-year-old self to be better about prioritizing work-life balance more consciously, really focusing on self-care and mental health. I feel like music is such a demanding industry and it's really easy to get caught up in the hustle. And it's something that I definitely did get caught up in when I was in
Mhm.
my early 20s. So, taking time to recharge and kind of reflect, I think helps, me be more creative and it helps me be more productive, helps me prevent burnout. And then I think beyond that, I just find that I actually end up making better decisions and, I kind of I'm a little bit fresher and sharper and I kind of can come to, challenges with a fresh perspective. So it definitely helps sort of like revitalize me. On a professional note, I would say that I've learned so much about how to adapt and how to kind of like embrace change and innovation. I think early on in my career, I was very focused on, marketing because that was my background. And I was like, I need to excel in marketing and learn more about marketing and just stay very, very focused in that lane. And I think that I would encourage myself to focus on building a more diverse skill set. I found that honestly, wearing multiple hats, like being involved in digital and being involved in data and
Mm.
understanding the live aspect of things, and even putting on my A&R hat, like really being able to put on different hats and focus on different perspectives in the industry has actually helped me be not only a better marketer, but it's helped me open up new career opportunities. It's helped me contribute more effectively to like the projects I'm working on and allow me to comment, with more insight on different subjects. And I've just found that it's helped me sort of stay ahead of the pack. And I think embracing change and innovation instead of sort of just focusing really, narrowly on one expertise has actually helped me thrive. So I would
Mm.
definitely, encourage myself as a younger executive to probably just dive into more things and not be so narrowly focused.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I had an extra question set up for you. And I was going to ask you to share a little bit more about how you think your previous experiences in the business have kind of helped set you up for success with launching your own company. And if you could go back in time, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Actually, I feel like, there really isn't anything that I would have done differently because I feel like everything that I have done and experienced and like, any mistakes that I have made, and of course I've made them, have all really helped shape me to be the person that I am now. I feel like, I've had great experience in the DSP world working at Apple. I had the experience working at a major label and, really diving in on a ton of projects and working in sort of a large corporate environment. And then I also was lucky to have the experience of kind of taking on more responsibility in an independent label, and wearing that hat. So I feel like I really have gotten a lot of different perspective and I've been lucky to work with a lot of different types of leaders and bosses who've all had totally different leadership styles. And so I feel like all of that has really allowed me to actually feel ready and equipped to start my own company. And I don't think without that, I don't think if I had pushed myself outside of each of those experiences to kind of a new comfort zone, that I would be able to do what I'm doing now. So, in the moment, of course, every time you're doing something different and you're doing something that feels a little bit uncomfortable, it's a little bit scary and you're always kind of saying to yourself, like, is this the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? But, now looking back, even for those experiences that have been really hard, and there's definitely been experiences that have been really hard, I'm really grateful for all those sort of challenges because, I really do feel like every single kind of wild
Mhm.
challenge and late night and, fight with a boss or whatever has really allowed me to like step into, the leadership role that I'm in now and be able to lead, my team at 444 Sounds.
Yeah, that's incredible. Before we dive into the next question, is creating your own company something that you always kind of saw yourself doing?
Honestly, no, not at all. I really fell into this. I kind of, during the last role that I had, where I was, leading marketing and streaming for the independent label Hitco, and we sold the catalog to Concord Music Group, I ended up managing the acquisition and managing the Hitco catalog for Concord as a consulting client. And um, during that time, different people in the industry had sort of heard that I was consulting and were approaching me for me to join a couple projects. And, and I joined them because I thought it was fun to have my hands in a couple different things. And as I was taking on more and more of that kind of work, it sort of snowballed. And I realized that there was a real need for the type of services that I was offering, and it was a little scary for me at first because I definitely am a A-type personality, love a structured environment. I enjoyed getting a paycheck every 2 weeks and, having that routine. And so being an entrepreneur and opening my own business was not something that was in the cards at this stage, but it was really working. And I found that so many artists were really in need of what I was able to do with them and for them. And even, managers and record labels were needing, some extra guidance and assistance too. So it really does just feel like a time now in the industry where things have shifted so much and I think people need so much there's like a really strong feedback loop that's needed and people really do need sort of like daily, assistance. I don't think that, looking back at my time at the label where we would have a weekly check-in sort of with, artists and managers, I just don't think that that's enough anymore. And so, 444 Sounds has really allowed me to dive in on a super nitty-gritty basis with these artists and I think help them with artist development, which is ultimately, what they need. I think there's so many artists who can have a viral hit on TikTok or can have, a streaming hit, but it's really about setting them up for success in the long term.
Moving on to the next question. Every industry has its dirty little secrets, and you and I both know that that is no different in the music industry. Sometimes people think that's a bad thing, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they can be quite good. So, what's one secret you would like to share with our listeners about the industry?
I think that there's this sort of negative misconception, the idea of industry plants. I feel like I hear a lot amongst fan community, especially, especially on like Twitter and just, the consumer. And I feel like for those who maybe don't really know or understand the definition, it's really about the idea that artists have this almost like artificial sense of promotion from a label or from a management team, maybe rather than gaining organic success. And it's a very skewed concept because I think that while, labels and managers and agents obviously all play a very pivotal role in artist development, the reality is much more complex than that. I think success in the music business always involves some kind of a combination of, talent, hard work, strategy, definitely marketing, and probably like luck and timing. And so it's really very challenging, if not almost impossible, to manufacture a genuine artist fan connection that is not really something that you can kind of pay for. Like, right? You can pay for, influencers to post your music on TikTok and all of those things, but ultimately that doesn't really necessarily create an authentic groundswell of fan engagement and interaction. And I still find that authenticity and talent are still the foundation of everyone's music career that I've been involved in who's had long-term success. Obviously, connections are important, and if you have a great team behind you, that's certainly helpful. But the artists who I've encountered who've really succeeded are the ones who can learn from maybe failures and who can kind of be persistent and who are really hardworking and pushing forward every day. I think the industry has shifted so much, and it's really a full-time job. It's 5 full-time jobs for artists now. And anybody who seems like they're an overnight success has usually been building their career for years before they maybe hit the spotlight. I mean, you look at someone like Charlie XCX, and obviously she's had a very successful long career and she's had a lot of moments, but she's been working, really hard throughout her career. And I would say that this has been the peak so far, this Brat era for her. And it's been, years and years and albums and tours of really working hard. And so while she has a label behind her and she has a great management team, like she has really been putting in the work. So I feel like it's really about building a lasting connection that resonates with fans over time. And that's just something that the industry can't fully manufacture.
Yeah, I think those are really great points. Such a great shout. Something that's unfortunately, I feel not really talked about enough in
Yeah,
today's era. And it's definitely a brat summer for sure.
for sure.
All right, final question. Throughout your career, I can only imagine you've been asked plenty of questions, whether it's been for industry conferences, the media, or potentially a promotion. But throughout all of those interviews and all of those questions, there has to be one that you've never been asked but would have liked to. So, what is that question, and what would be the answer?
That's such a hard question, but I do feel that something that I'm not really asked a lot is, what's a really challenging decision that I've had to make that ultimately led to personal growth and professional growth. And it kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier, but ultimately, I think what was really challenging for me was the decision to leave what felt like a very stable role at a record label and what was traditionally something that I had been striving for and climbing the ladder, on the corporate side was always kind of in the cards for me. And so being able to take the leap, launch my own company felt very risky at the time to leave behind that stability and all the resources that a big company can provide to venture into the uncertainties of, starting your own business and being an entrepreneur. So I feel like I saw an opportunity to fill a niche in the market and sort of be able to offer tailored services to kind of bridge a gap in the market that I didn't see existing at the time for artists and managers and indie labels, and really stepping outside of my comfort zone and like forcing myself to hone my leadership skills. And all of that really has taught me a lot of valuable lessons, not only in how to be resilient, but how to be adaptable and how to really be on my toes and not really know what the next day or week is going to hold. And there is nothing like having your own company to really do that. I think every day for me has been so full of learning and new experiences in a way that I didn't necessarily expect. And I'm really grateful for that. So, that to me was a really pivotal moment that not only shaped the trajectory of my career, but also how I approach taking on challenges and just how I view the industry changing. It's so dynamic right now. And I feel like if I ever did leave my company to go back to the corporate space, I feel so much more equipped to even excel in that environment just because of all the things that I've, learned on my own. So
That's awesome. That's a really great perspective. Well, it's about time we close out this episode. So, Joe, thank you again for joining me. Pleasure to have you on the podcast.
likewise, thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Stay tuned for next week of 3Q, where I interview industry professionals for just 15 minutes by asking 3 powerful questions. See you next time.